craziest thing I ever had happen in my insurance agency was the day the massage parlor moved in next door. And immediately, especially at night, if we were working late, we heard people talking to God through the walls. And twice I came to work and all the employees were sitting on the curb with handcuffs on. They had been raided, and both times they
Not your employees.
No, the employees of the massage
Well,
parlor.
thank God.
And they got released, and they could never catch them, and it's still there. That's one of the reasons I moved my office recently. So,
Wow.
I wonder how often the police go there.
I don't know, but I did see some people from church from time to time. So anyhow, that's my craziest story. And my name's Steve Helpin. I'm an insurance dude from San Diego, California.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
Right now, while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
We took our notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies led Craig and I to selling more than $10 million in premium in the last 2 years.
On this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the same results.
Just go to live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
If you jump on this call with us, we're certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.
Woo!
Boom!
Boom!
Boom.
That is, I mean, we've heard a lot of stories. We've heard a lot of stories. That's the first parlor story.
It is.
Yeah, it was funny too, because one of my best clients came in and he goes, "How's business next door?" And I said, "Well, it's busier at night than it is during the day." And he goes, "Well, that's when all the tension is."
I mean, would it be an interesting idea to have the services next door offered if they get a quote? I don't know. Could you do that?
Yeah, I could say I'll get, if you get a
Free
quote,
massage.
you get a gift certificate for the
Yeah.
massage parlor.
I mean, it's, just creating goodwill with the neighbors.
Pretty
You have
sure
a bunch of 18-year-old dudes.
Yeah, that
Down
you
the
don't want
corner.
pretty
They're
sure
not
the
the ideal
mothership
client.
would not be happy with that. So
no.
No, a lot of high rates, if you know what I mean.
yes.
Could get
But,
sticky.
Oh, stop.
All right, let's dive in. So tell us, Steve, how you got into this crazy business of insurance. I know that it was probably something deep in your soul at a young age that you wanted to get into, but
Yeah, like all of
tell
us.
us that story.
I, like you, Jason, I spent 13 years in the hospitality business. So
Ooh,
got my
where?
degree. I was with Noggles Del Taco
no way.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Those
So
chili
I-
fries.
Yeah, I started. I got my degree in hotel restaurant management from Cal Poly Pomona, and I picked that major because I could never figure out what I wanted to do, and I still have it. But I just figured, I love to ski and surf, and I figured I could always live someplace really cool because I could always get a job.
Yeah.
So I did that for a long time, and then the last position I had, we had some friends down from Central California, and I made a big dinner, and we were just sitting down, and my pager went off. I had a pager. And one of our stores had been robbed, and so I had to leave and go deal with that. And I got home at midnight, and everybody was in bed, and I said, "You know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. Not for the rest of my life. I can't do it." So I saw an ad for a company called the Berkshire Group. It was now the Guardian, selling life insurance and disability, and went to work for them for 4 years, and then got hired by Allstate as a EFS, and I did that for 9 years. And then one of my agents was selling his book, so I bought it. And then another agent was retiring, and I bought that one, and here I am. So
Here you are.
Crazy. What year was it that pager went off?
that would have been 1990.
So, and when did Noggles turn into Del Taco?
That was late 80s.
I
wanna
don't even
say-
remember Noggles. I remember
Dude.
Del Taco. I mean, when I
All
was
right.
in high school, they had Del Taco.
Yeah.
Yes,
late
Noggles
80s.
was prior. It had the big sun. And here's the crazy thing.
Oh,
so
I do. Yep.
it was so good. It was so good. The best bean and cheese. I mean, that's where you get the Del Taco bean and cheese. This is a West Coast thing for everybody.
That green with the green chili in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, mine was the green burrito with green sauce, the bean burrito with green sauce and extra cheese.
Oh, so
Yes.
good.
So,
And they had the really fine shredded cheese that they put on the French fries and stuff.
Yep. so all those companies all started in our area, San Bernardino. So Dick Noggle and
Gosh,
Glenn Bell-
that's a name.
yeah, Dick Noggle, Glenn Bell,
Could you
So-
say it one more time?
Dick Noggle. Sounds like something you should get treatment for, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Doctor, I have a dick noggle that I need to look at.
But Ed Hackbarth, whose son went to high school, my wife, he started Del Taco, and he was with friends with Glenn Bell, who started Taco Bell, and they're also
Wow.
Dick Noggle from Noggles, and all three of those guys all were friends, and
Brought the
they
noggle in.
started. And then the guy from Baker's too. They're all friends, and they are all connected at one point.
Wow. And that goes same with the Wiener Schnitzel dude and McDonald, all those guys. Wow, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
And they all started in San Bernardino. I grew up in Riverside, so
Wow.
And I grew up in
They-
Pasadena, right down the street.
facade and awe.
Pasadena.
And they just
Wow.
brought back Noggles, and they had a couple test kitchens. They actually had one on the beach in Huntington for a
recently?
second. Yeah, recently. Now there's like one. I think there's one, or there might be two, but there's one definitely. I think on Beach Boulevard.
Has a cult
Definitely,
following.
I think is a weird way to phrase that, but yeah, definitely, I think.
Yeah, there's a whole. It's a cult. There's a whole Facebook page dedicated to it.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. I loved Del Taco over Taco Bell. I mean, it's not even close.
No,
Yeah.
Taco Bell is just miserable. And those bean and cheese burritos at Taco Bell. Ugh.
they make the beans. I mean, they actually boil the beans and refry the beans every day.
Mhm.
So crazy.
Versus Taco Bell, they get a bag of powder and they put water in it.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So
I think.
So, Steve, you went from being a leader into being an agency owner.
Right.
a leader. You mean in the food business?
No, in the insurance business. You went from kind of wrangling the insurance agency owner to taking over a book of business. God, that must have been crazy.
Yeah. Well, was there like an early win that made it once you were in, you drink it through the fire hose, something that like fell and you're like, this is it?
Well,
Besides knowing Dick Noggle.
well, I just saw the agents that I was working with, getting passive income, and I was starting over every month because there's really no renewals on the EFS side. And the first agent I took over, he had taken it over from his dad. His dad was a 30-year agent, a great agent. And this guy had worked in a body shop for like 20 years and then, saw the dollar signs and took over bought his dad's book of business from him when he retired. And he hated it. Hated it. And he was so grumpy and, gruff with his clients. Someone would call him for a quote. The first thing he asked, he goes, "Can you show me a registration that you own the car?" I mean, that was his first question.
Creating that rapport.
Right. So, when I took that book over, I made a point of, calling every single person that I could and introduce myself. And they're like, "Wow, you're so much nicer." So it was really, I will tell you this though, another kind of a crazy thing that happened though. So I took over that book of business on October 1st, 2003, and I earned my CLU designation that same month. And Allstate sends you, or the Big Blue sends you to wherever the graduation ceremony is, and a guest when you earn that. And so on October 19th, I took my wife and we flew to the graduation ceremony in Waikiki in Hawaii.
Ooh.
And that morning, as we were leaving, the Cedar Fire started and we lost 2,400 homes in San Diego. And so we didn't think much of it. We went to the Royal Hawaiian Hotel and drank a zombie and fell asleep on the beach. and came walking into the hotel and turned on the TV, and the fire had jumped Interstate 15, and they had closed down the FAA tracking station, and the whole town was on fire. And here I am, a brand new agent in Hawaii. So, fortunately, fortunately, the agent who I purchased agreed to stay on for a couple months. But yeah, that was
I bet you felt like you got
baptism by fire, literally.
Yeah.
So
how many houses out of your book were included in the houses that got lost?
I only had one total loss, but I had probably another 20 or 30 that had outbuildings, smoke damage, things like that.
It's crazy what a total loss does to the loss ratio.
Yeah. I have an agent friend who had 50 total losses.
Ooh. So he 10x his bonus.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, just dealing with it for 2 or 3 years.
So he stayed on for that period of time. How many agents did you have in the agency at that time?
1 plus me.
1 plus you. Oh, and what about now? I know you've grown.
So now I have myself. I have 2 what I call hybrids, and then 2 dedicated salespeople.
Cool. So talk about that. Talk about their roles and how you guys operate.
So I have my office manager, Jackie. She's been here 16 years. And
wow. That's awesome.
And she's the one that kind of keeps everything organized. She's super organized. She does sell, but she's a better administrator. But she speaks Spanish. She's from Tijuana. She's got a big Hispanic following. You know, you've got good people when they call and they won't talk to me. They'll only talk to her.
That's what you want.
That's what I want. And then I have Jessica. She's been here 6 years, and same thing, hybrid. She's supposed to be hybrid, but you know, she was number 1 last month in sales. So she wrote over 30 items as a hybrid. So, and then I have Curtis, he's only been here. He just got his binding authority about 2 months ago. And then I have Marlon, who I spoke about this morning. He's from Tijuana as well, and he got his binding authority and his license last week. So
crazy.
There you go. Congratulations.
What I did is I had him quoting from the get-go, and one of the things I learned from Tom Burks was first day they're on the phone. You know, they're spending half the day on the phone and the other half training. And so we just kept track of everything that he had written that I couldn't pay him for until he got his license. So I paid him for $26,000 in premium today. So
nice.
He's pretty excited.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's a good start for him to have that kind of income.
So dovetailing off of the whole notion of team and the roles, and it's awesome what you put together. Have you created some sort of culture, and what have you done to really make it tight?
So before COVID, I had a lot of centers of influence. I was going to the realtor meetings and I was networking a lot, and we were getting referrals. And then COVID happened and we were all working from home, and it just kind of dried up, you know, because it wasn't seeing people. And I missed my minimum auto production 3 months in a row. And I thought that the contract said if you missed 4 out of 6, you're gone. So I guess it was September of last year, I literally was up all night, figured, what am I going to do? Because I can't just let this happen. And I've been listening to your guys' podcast for a long time, and I had my bonus from the previous year, and I just said, well, I'm just going to go all in. And I sat the staff down, and I just said, here's where we are. This is where we're at. And I said, if we don't change, we're not going to have jobs. And I had the talk with them that you guys talk about in the Elite Forum, and I just said, are you in? I said, because I'm going to invest a lot of money, and we're going to do training every day, and we're going to have sales calls every day, and we're going to figure this out, or we're not going to have a job. And they said, we're in. And we did the little teapot, and off we went.
You did little teapot? Did you really do a teapot?
We really did it. We really did it.
Oh, wow.
And
that is awesome.
I need to do it with this team that I have now.
We have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
100%. That is the most uncomfortable thing to get everybody.
And I did it first.
Yeah.
And even being the boss, it's uncomfortable, you know, like
of
singing
course.
a little song in front of everybody. It's the worst.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, leading these meetings and being more of a business owner rather than an agent has been uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
It's much easier now, but the first, I was nervous.
Yeah.
am I going to look like an idiot? And are they going to take me seriously? But here we are. So
isn't it funny, like all the things that I guess it's ego talking to you, right? Because it doesn't want to get bruised. It doesn't want bad things to happen. So it's trying to protect you. But like all the things it says to prevent you from doing things is just remarkable. And it happens to everybody. It's just the ones that are able to overcome it.
I remember when I was doing just life insurance, somebody gave me a little book, and I can't remember the name of the book, but basically what it said was, to be successful, you have to make a habit of doing things that other people don't like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that really stuck with me. And whether that's making calls or being vulnerable as a sales leader or what have you, and you just have to, I guess, be brave.
Right.
You know?
It's definitely a lot less painful just to sit and answer the phone and take payments and do the job, right? Like you just hide amongst the people and you're the guy that writes the paycheck. But at the end of the day, if that's what's happening, then you're just another one of the LSPs with a lot more responsibility.
Correct. Yeah. And the funny thing that happened though was once I, hired the teledudes and started buying all the leads and everything, I became so much more engaged in the business than I had been in years. And I'm having fun. That's the crazy thing. I'm actually having fun again. And so that's good because I had gotten kind of bored. And I said, I'm just going to play golf. I'll annuitize the book and do that. And now I'm engaged again. And so it's fun. A lot of fun.
I love your story in general because you came in and with Teledudes and you came in and it was kind of an uphill battle for you for a while. Like you were always on the meetings, you were always engaged, but it wasn't as natural, right? It seemed like it took a little bit of time for you to really gain some traction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course it did.
How did you manage that? Because you've been an agent for a while, you had systems and processes, and now you got this new thing. How did you manage that's a lot of scary stuff, different stuff, a lot of spend, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's still a lot of spend. But the renewals are starting to show up, and we got paid today, and it's the biggest non-bonus check I've ever got, other than life insurance stuff. But how did I manage it? Just lead manager and Zoom and.
How did you manage the emotions? Because we always talk about, I know Craig always talks about the time when he went to Hawaii. That stood out to him. I know that there were multiple times throughout my journey. Nothing really stands out to me, but I do know that there was about a year period of time where I was, it's a lot. And it's like, you do have those feelings of, well, I don't have to do this, right? You don't have to, you can go golfing. It's like, why am I spending money?
Or I can't do, right? Or you're telling yourself, I can't do this. I'm not capable of that.
Right.
Other people are good at that, right? Where you really get down on yourself.
Well, I knew that if I continued to do what we were doing, it wasn't going to end well. So failure is not an option. I just said, we're got to make this work. And we'll take the risk. And, it was crazy. I got a big bonus last year, yet I was afraid I was going to lose my job. Like, how do you get a big bonus and then,
right.
It was only 8 autos a month that we had to sell, and I missed it 3 months in a row.
And isn't it funny now with what you produce, like thinking about 8, you're like 8 autos. That's like, we could do that in one day sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. Marlon, the new guy, wrote a 6-car auto, so the way I managed it was either change and adapt or die. And that's, I didn't want, and I'm too young to retire, and I don't see myself ever completely retiring. So failure is not an option.
This piece I think is a really, really important piece to talk about, because I think a lot of agents go through this at some point, right? Where things aren't happening. They're not quite sure what to do. You had it was 3 months in a row. But what about month 1? Were you like, hey, I'm okay. It's going to, when was the moment that you said, holy crap, we got to step up?
When I got an email that said I had missed my KBO
for the third time. So that was the third
time. And then I thought it was 3 out of 6 months, and it's actually, I think, 4 out of 12 or something like that. There's a lot more leeway there than I realized, which is good because
it's good.
It prompted me to to do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a big nut that I had to crack each month when I had my business loans, and I paid all those off last year. And so when I got my bonus, I didn't take any of it out. I just
That's
hired
the
people
best.
and bought leads.
I love that.
You
That's
know,
kind of
where
like
in the
what
past
we're
I had taken it out and buy a car or go on a trip or something like that. This time I just reinvested the whole thing.
Yeah. It
So-
multiplies much quicker that way.
It does.
That's what we were
It does.
talking about on the Elite today, was that exact thing. And I went through my story of the first few years from that first bonus, where it was all the bonus and then anything I could save was going right back in to build it, because I wanted to buy time and I wanted to buy speed. I wanted to build it quickly.
Mhm.
And I knew if I took money out, it would be taxed, 30, 40%. And then I would be investing with another company to hopefully get a 4%. And it just didn't make
Yeah.
sense to me. Why wouldn't I just put it in my own business where I can control it a little bit more and you don't have to pay taxes on it? Right. So it's like,
Right.
yeah. And then now I definitely pull money out, and it's like, it's almost like you got to suffer a little bit to like get the bigger reward. But like,
Mhm.
it's nice getting bigger checks. Like, it's nice seeing them get bigger. Right.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
It's
It
pretty
is.
cool when it's up,
It-
up.
And next year's just going to get better.
yes.
It's going to be a lot better.
It's funny that we got to this conversation here, because I actually thought about what you're talking about, not just philosophically, like pull the money, or Jason, not just, hey, it's better to invest over here, but like breaking the numbers down on it. Cause I get on the number kick and I start working with the numbers. It takes almost, if you withdraw the money, put it over with whoever, right? Put in the market, let's say some mutual fund, some decent, safe mutual fund that'll probably get 7 or 8%. It'll take 7 years to break even after taxes from
Right.
whatever you take out. But after you pull it out, you pay your taxes, you put it in, you're going to pay taxes on that money that grows. By the time you actually break even, it's 7 years.
Right.
Versus you keep it in there, reinvest it. You just had the largest paycheck you've ever had, because instead of taking it out and buying something, or investing it, or worse, buying something, right? That's even worse, buy a car. That's probably the worst thing you can do. You took $1, turned it into $3 or whatever it is, right? Like, it's just much easier to grow money if you invest in yourself.
Yeah. And I think you have to accept the fact that you're not going to see a return on that money right away. And, because there is all the upfront. So you have to look at it long term. So the dollar I spend on marketing today, I'm not going to see it for a year. That's my philosophy on it, because it's going to have to go to commissions. It's going to go to leads and telemarketers and everything else. But if you do the numbers and you draw it out 10 years, it's huge. It's like compound interest.
It is.
It is. It's funny because like, we're talking about the front end of this, but the back end of this, it's like once you build it to that level, it's like an annuity. It pays out yearly. And we all know the more you make yearly, you get taxed on. So it's like, I would rather spread it out throughout the years. And it just doesn't make any sense to do it any other way in my mind. But I also recognize, because when I came in, I was hot on that for the first few years, like hot. Like I was like, no, just reinvest, like never take money out. I was hot on that for a while, and it really helped our business grow exponentially at the time. But I do think that there are seasons, right? We're in a different season right now in our agency. I mean, with changes that are going on, but like, we're still growing, but we're not at that like exponential growth. And, I am pulling more money from it in this season, but that's not to say next season might change drastically. But it's everybody has their seasons for it. But it is good to have those growth seasons where you do think like that. You go for it, because it pays off. Like, you can have your golf season and really get to enjoy it, right?
Yeah, but the problem is, if you're not climbing, you're sliding. I mean, if you're not growing,
100%.
you're shrinking. And I didn't grow for 3 or 4 years. I mean, I basically stayed the same, and I was comfortable. The loans were paid off, and came and went, didn't work very much, and then they moved the cheese.
Right. But even to stay, like, the difference between staying even and growing even just a little
bit,
like the energy required to take it to where now, okay, I'm just going to grow by whatever, 10 items a month. It's some kind of growth is not very much more. right? You're already doing a lot of it
Mhm.
right here just to break even.
Right.
I don't know why it's, then the next 100 items or whatever seems like impossible, but it's not. It's much, much easier once you're here.
And the thing that I probably have struggled with the most is not doing quotes. It's so hard when I see that, when I see a transfer coming in and no one's picking it up, I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to grab it. But I don't, because I know that they're not going to get better and they're not going to be able to earn what they need to earn if I'm messing around with it.
Right.
So, I mean, I think I wrote 3 policies last month, but for the most part, 3 out of 80. So
Yeah. That's
pretty
awesome.
good. You're almost there.
Yeah, almost there. So
I'll never forget when we first decided to grow. I got to this point where I was doing a bunch of stuff in the business, and then I just realized that this one point, like, I have to like put the kibosh, because I'm a people pleaser. I like helping people, as do you, as Craig. I know, and it's like you get to this point where it's like, okay, I have to make this conscious decision that if I want this other thing, I got to cut this other thing off. So I remember telling everybody, like, I'm not going to talk to one person. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not talking to any clients. And it was really difficult. And it wasn't one of those things that you say that and then that happens. It's like you say that and then it's like, but this guy's this, but this is this, but this, there's always a situation. And so it's just, and in those situations, like, yeah, I have a minute. Of course I can grab it. But then it's like, you just go, you know what? There's like this bigger vision. There's this big picture thing that I want. And I gotta get it, and it's like, I gotta give this thing. It's hard. It's hard to do.
One of the things that you guys have mentioned that really put things in perspective is scalability. So that's what I try to do. Is this scalable? If it's not scalable, I'm not going to do it.
Yep.
And me, doing every single quote is not scalable.
Mm-mm.
So it's not.
Right.
But you teaching your guys and you encouraging your guys pays off in dividends.
It does.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy.
And this morning I was talking to you about my one staff that lives in Tijuana, and his dream is to be able to live here again. Now, he's a U.S. citizen, but he's been living with family because he couldn't afford to live in San Diego. So he gets up at 5 a.m. and takes public transportation from Tijuana to get here by 8:30. It takes him like 3 hours to get here. Wow. And so now he just got this $4,000 check, and he's going to buy a motorcycle, and that's just so he can get to work easier. And then he's planning on moving here. So that it's pretty rewarding to see somebody go from living in, hopefully, and I'm sure it'll continue, from struggling and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and crossing the international border to come to work every day to being able to afford to live in San Diego. So that's one of the things I didn't foresee. That's
right.
super rewarding.
Yeah.
Super rewarding. That is so cool.
We're changing his life,
Yep.
And then, the other guy that I hired, the one who's been here a little bit longer, he was the first one that I used your test on that you sent me, Craig. And, he told me the other day, he goes, I want to thank you for hiring me. You've changed my life. And I'm just like, wow, that's
right.
I didn't really think about it that way. It's humbling.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah.
And you were at this point where you felt like, I don't know if they're going to trust me or listen to me. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's so easy to just stay in the box.
Right.
And you didn't. You broke out and you've changed lives. And that's what's incredible.
And you have to have something that a lot of people, agents especially, run into, is they have a scarcity mentality versus an abundance mentality. And I've told everybody in this office, if you want to own an agency someday, I will do everything I can to help you. I would love to see that happen. And it's the same thing with agents too. I mean, the best agents are open books. They're willing to help you. They know there's enough business for everybody, as opposed to the ones who don't want to help anybody and they view everybody as a threat. And that's just a horrible way to live.
Yeah, it is horrible, because the reality is they're going to do whatever regardless, right? They're going to still go after their goals and what they want in life regardless, but they're going to be working with you during that time. So why not, like, if you do help them and throw that out there, they're going to work for you harder when they're with you, and they're still going to leave at the same point. But now, not only did they work harder for you, so you gain, but then they're going to do better. And like, talk about a great feeling to be one of the points in their life that you help like drastically change their life, you know?
Right.
Hey, what are you still doing here?
Well, while you're still here and while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
Yeah, if you weren't listening before, we took notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies did help Craig and I write over $10 million in premium in the last couple years.
And let me tell you, on this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the very same results.
Again, that's live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
And if you jump on with us, we are certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.